Hey guys. Hello. Hey pretty. Hey Jazz. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I think I sound good. How are you ladies doing this evening? How are you? How are you? Welcome to the stream. Like the video as you come on in. Let me put my banner up. All right. Okay, perfect. So guys, so this is kind of an impromptu live, right? Because I was watching another live that popped up on my algorithm. A lot was said, and I think the live kind of got all over the place. But guys, I ended up on a self-proclaimed Pick Me's channel. So if you were at her on her live, you probably saw me in her chat because I was going back and forth with a few of the males in the chat that had a lot to say about divestors. Now, you ladies know that my channel is more about BWE. Like, I just make content for Black women. I don't have like a specific niche in BWE. Like, I talk about everything. So, obviously, I have divestment content. I have content on swirling and interracial dating. I have content on Black women. I have content on single motherhood rates. And I have just femininity and traditionalism. Like, I have so much different kinds of content for Black women on my channel. So I can't say that I'm just, one thing, but I support everything, obviously. Um I kind of don't even know where to start because the men on this channel they had a lot to say about divestors, right? They called divestors like self-hating group of Black women that we use white supremacist talking points. I mean, if you've watched some of that content or some of those lives from that space, and you have like a generalized idea of some of the things they tend to say all of the time, right? So it was nothing new. Like there was nothing said that I haven't heard. Um, but this person's live was about how male identified women are winning. And I thought that was a very interesting topic. Um, I didn't watch the whole thing, so I really don't know what her premise was from the beginning. I just seen it on my algorithm, and I just came on in. Um, but I guess from the title and from some of the things that were said, she kind of means to say like male identified women are maybe she was saying they're more happier, they're more this and that. Like, I don't know. I didn't watch the beginning, like I said. But the particular parts of the live that I was in, a lot of men in the chat kept saying the same doggone thing. Only 1% of white men marry Black women. Uh, Black women initiate the abuses and these domestic violence relationships. And one Black man said in the chat that Black women are taking out Black babies in other ways other than abortion. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Like the majority of women that get abortions, even though he claims that's not what he meant, but majority of women that get abortions in the first place are Black women. And not only that, but according to the CDC, abortion rates have decreased and within the past 10 years amongst all women, and they have decreased for Black women. So I don't know why they keep bringing up abortion rates because majority of young people aren't even sleeping together anyway. Majority of Black women are not out here single moms. Like single mothers amongst all women is a small group of women. Majority of women that are mothers are either mothers in a marriage, cohabitating, or shared custody or whatever. Like majority of women that are moms aren't single moms. It's just majority of women that have kids in a one parent household. It's 89% of the time it's with the mother. So the people in this space, sometimes I listen to them, right? And I really believe they're getting two different types of Black women mixed up. I hate that. Number one is I hate that they keep talking about single moms, because single moms are not the majority of Black women. Majority of Black women are not single mothers. So why do you keep talking about them? And I've already said in another live, about the whole under 30 thing and hitting a wall and all that other stuff, right? Majority of women that marry are not marrying significantly older men, and they're also marrying in their late 20s to early 30s. Majority of women of any race is not getting married at 21, 22, 23, 24. Like that's not happening. So that's annoying. And they keep saying that divestors hate themselves and are white supremacists and are misandrists. And they don't understand that divestment is not about Black men. It's just about going to what serves you. It's really about whatever a Black woman wants it to be about. There is no playbook and rule book original divestment. Now, there are some divestors that that need to be completely out of the picture from Black men in order for, their form of divestment to work. And there are divestors that consider divestment to be about men and who they choose to date, because who you choose to date and spend your life with will shape how you spend the rest of your life. It can potentially open you up to a higher society or bring you down to a lower society, whoever it is you choose to be with long term, especially as a woman. So I like, what a lot of them don't understand is that the sons of the Mammies are a big reason for divestment in the first place. A lot of these men don't understand that if you were actually a very good or just a much better group of men, there probably really wouldn't be a divestment, at least to this extent. There probably would be a lot more Black women who wanted you in the first place. They would have stayed with you if you were better. So I was kind of going back and forth with one other content creator in the chat. He has his own channel and I've checked it out a few times. And he wanted me to tell him who Black men should imitate. And I told him, I told him, first of all, we live in a patriarchy in a capitalist society. That means men have to compete. So if you're a man who's at the bottom, or you're a part of a group of men that are collectively at the bottom, don't expect a lot of women to want you. I mean, like, that's what I didn't say all of that to him, but in my head, that's like, that's just the truth. No group of women wants a bottom, a bottom of the shelf type of guy. It just is what it is. It's just nature of a woman. And so he wanted me to tell him, okay, well then who should Black men imitate? And I told him Black men should imitate the men that are at the top, whatever men that are doing the best. Black men should imitate men who are the most productive, who have good relationship skills, who are great fathers, whatever. All these great qualities and characteristics is who Black men should imitate from those men. And he didn't want to accept my answer. He told me that I wasn't answering the question straightforwardly, and that I was avoiding it. And he told me he's been raised around women. He knows how we talk. Answer the question. I said, I did answer the question. You asked me who Black men should imitate, and I said the men with the best character. That's who Black men should imitate. And he didn't want to accept that. And that's probably because he wanted me to say white men. He wanted me to, I bet you anything, he wanted me to attach a color to how Black men are supposed to be, that they should not be Black, they should be white. When the people in this space and that other side, they're so stuck on color. It's not about, you are not being like left, and people aren't talking about you the way they're talking about you because you're Black. It's mainly because of the things you do. And you just so happen to be Black while doing it. So they associate you with that. That is now your label now. Like, I don't know why they just can't get it. It drives me insane when I'm sitting in these spaces and they make everything about blackity black, 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 and they just, for the life of them, can't understand that it's honestly more so about who Black men as a collective are as a group. As a group. And I don't get it. I mean, I was just shocked. Well, honestly, I can't say that I was too shocked. How do I sound? I can't say that I was too shocked because, what else do you expect? Um, what else do you expect? But this is what happens when a large group of men are of a certain group are raised by mammies and have a lot of support from mammies or women who are pick me's and very male identified. They fail to see the part that they play in a lot of things that are going on. They will blame you instead. And this is kind of like, I'm kind of just like ranting a little bit, but I do want to know your guys' thoughts. I'm just going to go ahead and like drop the link anyway. But it doesn't make any sense to me because how can you lack such self-awareness? Like, how can you lack so much self-awareness to the point where you can't see the part that you play? Like, they really think that divestment started because Black women hate themselves. They really believe that, y'all. They, for the life of them, refuse to believe that divestment started because Black men in the Black community is crappy. Like, they can't, they just won't accept that, or they won't say it's true. And then they'll pull up these statistics that only represent a small group of men, right? Like, majority of Black men are not working in STEM. Majority of Black men are not all in the home. Like, they keep bringing up stats that don't apply to the majority. They're bringing up stats that not every Black woman should take seriously. And then just disregard the stats, disregard the things that Black men even do that are completely horrible. The fact that Black women outnumber Black men, period, is a reason why you should date out and you should swirl and interracially date in the first place, because there's just not even enough men for the rest of us. Then I brought up the statistics, guys, is that an overwhelming majority of Black men don't even live past the age of like 55. Like, that's another thing. Only 40% of Black men live to be age 65, and it's 59% for Black women according to 2019 data from the census. I showed all of that on my channel. I might clip those and upload those as individual videos so you guys can see. But there's so many other reasons that don't even have to do with the actions of Black men. As a Black woman, specifically on why you should date out and why you should swirl interracially date, right? It's just so much. And divest. Like, some things don't even have to do with the identity of Black men. It's just more so have to do with the community, the neighborhoods where a lot of Black people tend to live, the schools where a lot of Black people tend to go to. Those all could be reasons as to why you should divest. Those all could be reasons. So, but they don't want to accept any of those things. They don't want to look at the environments that Black women are living in, the homes that Black women are living in, and the types of families they come from. They all want to blame it on the fact that you are divesting because you hate yourself. You are divesting and using white supremacist talking points, which are not talking points. They're technically the truth, right? There are men in this space who will say that if you bring up the fact that Black men are taking each other out, they're taking out the women and children, they will believe you are a white supremacist and you are using white supremacist talking points. What? What? That's like me going, that's like me going into the white community. Hey, Bua, that's like me going into the white community and saying white men take other white men out. And the white people look at me like I'm a racist. Like, would that make sense to y'all? Like, I'm a racist, like I hate white people. right? But if it's said to black people, if you say black people are taking other black people out, oh, you're a white supremacist. But if I were to go in the white community and tell white people, y'all are taking each other out, they will probably, would they, does that mean they have to call me racist? They really, what they would do is that they would probably look at me like, yeah, our murder rates, murdering is wrong. Like, even according to the New York Times, guys, if you are a black person, you are 8 times more likely to experience homicide versus a white person who is only twice more likely in the white community. That's how crazy it is. And what they don't understand in that space is that when you bring up this kind of data, it's not that other groups of people don't do it. Of course, white people or I'm sorry, take out each other. Of course they do that, but it's disproportionate. It's the way that the numbers for black people are disproportionate to other groups. And for black people to only make up 13% of the nation's population, but yet we are 8 times more likely to experience a homicide versus white people who make up 60% of the population, that is alarming and is worth a discussion. It's worth movements, it's worth awareness, it's worth social media campaigns to try to bring light to the situation. Like, it's worth some form of action. It's worth all of that. So I don't understand the points, a lot of the points that they make in their spaces, particularly about black women, about the black community. They really believe that, black men could just do no wrong. Like, that's what I'm starting to think. And there's a lot of the self-proclaimed pick-me's gonna make videos trying to, in a way, debunk black femicide and the numbers. Now, I will say this, that I see more data about, excuse me, I see more data about in 2020 that a black woman was taken out at least 4 times every day in the year of 2020, and it skyrocketed compared to 2019, according to the FBI. And actually, that was a number that they reported to not even be a true representation of how many deaths were taken out by black women, meaning there's probably more than that. There's probably more than 4 black women a day getting taken out. So the numbers, what they do say in the other space is they say that the numbers aren't very clear and there's a lot of assumptions and propaganda being thrown out. I would say that the truth is the only numbers that aren't clear are numbers that are very real, but it's just so many cases happening, so much information that's missing. But the fact is that black women are being taken out multiple times per day. That is a fact. Whether you want to say it's by the black man, by the white man, by whoever, unintentionally, whatever the case is, domestic violence, whatever it is, the fact of the matter is it's happening, and it's happening by homicide. These are homicide deaths, guys. It's not deaths by cheeseburgers and crap. It's deaths at the hands of somebody else. Someone else. Now, do these numbers possibly include other women taking other women out? Sure. Okay, we can say that, but majority of the time it is by a man, and majority of the time it is by a black man. I just told y'all, the New York Times reported that black people are 8 times more likely to experience a homicide by another black person versus white people. They're only twice as likely to experience a homicide by another white person. And they make up 60% of the population. So you would think actually that those numbers would be reversed because there's so many more white people. They should be the ones doing all the crime and doing all the damage and just really out here doing the most. Our population is small. We should not be out here doing the most. There shouldn't even be enough black people that want to do all this stuff. There shouldn't even be enough black people that want to do all this stuff. So since there is, then that only means that this is a cultural issue. And that is why there is divestment. There are Black women who want to leave this culture of excusing murders and excusing grapes. And y'all know what I mean when I say grapes, and excusing domestic violence. Black women want to leave that. For some Black women, it's solely about who they date. But for a lot of Black women, divestment is about getting away from a troublesome community. It's about getting away from a community that does not serve you anymore and going somewhere else that is just much better than what you was raised in, right? And I think that the men in this space, I think they really hate themselves. They hate themselves, and they have this weird relishing in themselves being a villain. I don't know what it is, but it's like, it's getting ridiculous. Not everything a Black woman does outside of a Black man, not everything means she hates herself. Some, well, actually, I would say all of us Black women, in one way or another, are trying to look for safety. We're trying to look for protection. We're trying to look for gateways to just give us a better life. It is not about us hating a man simply because he's Black. It's about us, quote unquote, hating a man who has crappy character, that's going to put you in harm's way, that's going to ruin your mental, emotional, and spiritual health. It is about that first before it is about the color of your skin. But since the majority of people that Black women have experienced this type of behavior from has been from men that are Black, well, unfortunately, that is just the target. I have shown you guys so much data on my channel, so much research. We went over the Moynihan report. What did the Moynihan report say originally ruined the image of Black men? It said that it said that the Black man's submissiveness to the white man's law post-slavery, when he was free, is what ruined the image of Black manhood. It is what did it. That is what did it. It's because the Black American man did not fight back when he was being captured. That is what ruined your image. That is what other people considered you weak. That is the main reason why y'all did start stealing and taking each other out and lying, because you couldn't fight back. You still wanted to experience freedom. So you started doing stuff on the low, on the sly. You started doing bad things, which gave you a bad reputation. If you read slave narratives by Black males, other Black male slaves will tell you in those narratives and will admit that other Black male slaves actually did steal, actually did take people out, actually did grape other women. This is all real stuff, guys. I don't think a lot of Black men understand how deep and how long their bad image runs. And the Moynihan report also stated verbatim, Black women were not seen as a threat to society. We never have been seen as a threat, ever. And the funny thing is, on this live I was in tonight with this self-proclaimed pick me, she actually said she finally read the Moynihan report for herself and said, y'all, if y'all want to get y'all feelings hurt, or if y'all don't want to get your feelings hurt, don't read it. She read it for herself. And it's safe to say, guys, she's no longer going to be promoting it the same way that she was before after she finally read it. The Moynihan report paints Black men to be horrible and it blames them as the reason for why the Black community is where it's at. That's just the truth, guys. That's just the truth. And another thing the report said is that Brazilian slavery lasted 20 years longer than American slavery, but yet Black Brazilian men get treated better over there than Black American men did. I'm very curious to explore why that is. Why do Black Brazilian men get treated better than Black American men, even though Black Brazilian men were enslaved 20 years longer than Black men were enslaved? I really am curious about that. I'm really curious about that. So divestment, it's really honestly and truly not about race. It wasn't intended to target black men. Its intention is to target men that pretty much for the most part have horrible qualities. And those men that black women have experienced from the most, they just so happen to be black men. I'm sorry, that black women experience the most. They just so happen to be black men. So that's why y'all are the target. Please stop victimizing yourself off of your skin and victimize. Well, really don't victimize yourself at all. Your skin color doesn't make you a victim. You're not a victim of anything. If you were a better group of men, I highly doubt divestment would be this popular. Maybe there'd still be a divestment, who knows? But if there were more better black men, there'd be more black women who are actually happy with y'all, and it wouldn't be so popular. It wouldn't be like this, right? Brazilian men fought. Yeah, they did. Guys, they did. And another thing about slavery, black people weren't the first slaves. The first slaves were actually other white people. The first slaves were modern day Russian and Ukrainians, actually. They're called Slavics. That's actually where the word slave comes from. It comes from that word. It comes from Slavic white people slaves. And then you had the Chinese. The Chinese currently still have one of the world's largest human uh, trafficking markets in history. Chinese people. Chinese people enslaved other slaves, guys. All right. So, look, I have very different views in general politically. I'm not going to get into it personally, but one thing I will get into and will never have a problem getting into um is victimization of the black men, particularly in these spaces. And the simple the fact of the matter is, guys, hey y'all for coming in, like this video. The fact of the matter is, guys, black men are treated the way they are today because of the things that they do. Divestment is here because of this, because they are sons of men, of other women who coddled them, and simply because of what they do. And you know what? It's not even really because of their moms, because we're all raised by a mother, right? So why is it that black women are not seen in the same way that black men are in society? Because of the color of our skin. That's what I don't think a lot of them understand or even want to accept, is that if it was all about blackness, black women would be seen as lazy, violent women that take people out as well. Black women would be seen as thugs too. If it was solely about blackness, we'd all be in that boat. But we're not. There's research to prove that we're not. Hey, Bullet. No, I used to, but I don't have a PO box anymore. But I'll get it and I'll send it to you. Um, where was I? Yes, on blackness. So I just need the black men on the internet who have a problem with divestment, who have a problem with divestment. Hey, Lotta, to stop having a problem with it. It's just simple as that. I don't know why every black man who's confident that you're a good guy, if you're confident you're a good guy, you shouldn't have a problem with divestment, because divestment is about women leaving men who are bad. So if you care more about your character over your color as a black man, I don't see why you're gonna have a problem with divestment. I personally don't have a problem when black men want to date out. I genuinely have no issue with that. And I have no problem when they say all black women are this and that, because I'm not one of those black women. I'm not a baby mama. I don't have any kids. They want to shame baby mothers, baby mamas, and single moms, even though that's not the majority of black women. Like I said, statistically, it is not, right? Actually, a report recently released, I was going to bring it on my channel last year, saying that this is the most single and childless group of women in human history. Childless, meaning majority of women of any race, we are not mothers. They're not mothers. So I don't know why men keep talking about single mothers. There are childless women everywhere. If you can't attract one, you're either not going in the right spaces or these women just don't see you worth giving up their womb for. It's just that simple because the men who are happy and are doing their job with the right woman, they're not on here. They're not on here talking the way that a lot of black men in this space are talking, right? So I have the link there, guys, if anyone wants to come up. But, you know, because like I said earlier in the live, for those who came in, this isn't a divestment channel. This is a BWE channel, but I support divestment 1000%. I have divestment content. I have femininity content, swirler, interracial dating content for Black women, traditionalism, hypergamy content. I have content for Black women, and I believe divestment is something a lot of Black women need to do. Because the more I hear a lot of these Black men speak, it's like, who would want to be with y'all? Like, who's trying to marry y'all? Like, from the Black woman who has a PhD to the super submissive Black woman that's a barista. I don't think any of them along that spectrum would want to be with y'all. If I'm keeping it real, they're not. They are not. Like, uh, no, just, just no, absolutely not. And the sons of these mammies, they cause divestment 1000%. They cause divestment 1000%. And another thing they said in that live is, um, particularly the self-proclaimed picked me of this channel, she said that other races of women are also experiencing abuse and all types of things, but they're not creating a divestment um movement. So I don't understand. She was like, why are Black women doing this, right? Let me give one reason as to that. There's probably many. Other races of women are not going through the things at the same rate and proportion that Black women are. All right. Their men are not at the bottom. Their men are doing things to solidify their roles at the top. Their men have a history of fighting. All right. Black men do not have a history of fighting. They do not. They have a history of being submissive, of being docile, of standing still and just following the rules, right? That is the history of Black men. It's just the truth. Like I said in one live about Kanye West and how he made that comment that a lot of Black people were upset with, which was slavery was a choice. And the more you kind of think about that, it's just like, slavery was a choice for the people that wanted to be submissive. And that just so happened to be a lot of Black men. I mean, seriously, because you have the choice to be submissive and to be ruled by another human being, or you have the choice to fight, even if you have to risk your life, give your life, right? It's just the truth. And for a lot of Black men, they did choose to to be under the white man's rule and like throughout history, and that is why they're at where they're at today. That's why they don't have a lot of resources. That's why the communities are not thriving that they're supposed to be in charge of. That's why. There's no other reason for that. I've said so many times, and I'll say it again. When you live in a patriarchy, it is about what the men are doing. Even the Moynihan Report said this. The Black community turned matriarchy, excuse me, out of survival. Out of survival, the Black community turned matriarchal, right? But if you have a matriarchal type of community in an overall society of patriarchy, it's going to fail. And when it fails, it's not going to look at the woman, it's going to look at the men because everyone else is patriarchal. So they're going to look at why the men are not living up to patriarchal standards. That's just how it is. There's also there's like so much evidence that Black male slaves wanted to stay on the plantations. I was listening to a Black male slave narrative last night and he was being recorded. I don't even know if I don't know if they had recorded. I don't know what year it was recorded in, because I don't know when recordings were invented, but they got this guy's voice. So maybe, I don't know, they got this guy's voice on video. Um and he said that when the slaves were free, they didn't know what to do. They were uneducated, they had no money, they didn't know what to do. So some of them starved to death and, died from starvation. And others begged and pleaded to stay on their plantation and just continue on with what they were doing. He said that in the slave narrative I was listening to last night, right? That is the history of black men. It just is. They do this to themselves. They choose to not fight, they choose to not build, they choose to not hunt for food and resources. They look and see what other men are doing and want to live and breed off of that instead of having their own. That is the nature. Do we see what's happening in Ukraine? I don't even think I've given my thoughts on Ukraine yet. But I do not believe that those men, well, I wouldn't, let me say this. If those men don't want to fight, then it's going to be a shame because now those people don't get their privilege. Those are my thoughts. But if you have a group of men that fights, that will stand for something, then then the women and children will be seen as equal and will receive that type of protection, and everyone will be seen equal. Because, guys, sometimes it's really not just about blackness and color. A lot of times, especially in 2022, it's about what you're doing, your work, your mentality, your characteristics. If this country was so damn racist, and if this country just hated black men so damn much, why the hell would they elect a black man for president twice? Why the hell would they do that if they hated black men so damn much? Knowing that the black vote, making up 13% of the country, the black vote alone can't elect a president. We can make a difference, but our votes alone can't elect a president. We need the other 80 something percent of the population to get that man in office twice, right? Like, what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, black men being raised in horrible environments by mammies, and then choosing to not fight, choosing to not be better and hunt and take care of their women and children, literally choosing to desert their families, is the reason why black women are divesting. And you didn't have to be a black man to do this. Like, you can be a white man who has those characteristics. You could be a Spanish man, an Asian man, but it just so happens that the man that black woman are experiencing this from is black. So that's why they are the target. That's why. Right, Ash, I agree. He was biracial. I'm speaking on his phenotype. He was phenotypically more black looking than he was his white side. So, and I'm just kind of speaking of what a lot of other people would call him the first black president. So, but yeah, I believe that he is a biracial man. Black only fight black women. Yeah. And everything that was said in that comment section and in that live, it was all against the black woman. And the same content creator, she did have another divester content creator go on her channel, who I love. I love this the divester content creator. Love her channel. And she did go on to tell this self-proclaimed pick me about black male worship because she didn't understand it, right? And, black male worship is, in a general sense, just kind of making the black man seem like he can do no wrong at all. And anything else that happens to him is like other is another person's fault, another person's doing, and he's just this victim, and things are just happening to him, right? There's just a system, this invisible hand that is just manipulating the black man's life to just be crazy and for him to act completely bonkers, right? He has no self-agency. He's just a victim, right? Hey, Almond Butter. Hey, London. like the video when you ladies come in. And so, she it's just these conversations are very they're dangerous for a lot of black women. They really are dangerous for a lot of black women, and not the document, the documentary, I haven't watched it yet. I actually did want to watch it so that I can come on and talk about it. But I'm like dreading it. But I do want to watch it because I do want to know the facts. I want to know what's really being said, and the real deal about that documentary. But I don't know if you guys saw Lexus Exodus posted an op-ed that's going to be published soon in the New York Times about how problematic basically the documentary is going to be, and how black women play into it. So I can't wait for that to come because I have my New York Times subscription. um, but divestment isn't about because the men are black. Divestment is about black women having horrible experiences, and the men involved in those experiences just so happen to be black. It just is what it is. If black women were having horrible experience with every white man she came across on the job, in the grocery store, I mean, it was something crazy. She was being attacked, yelled at. I mean, every single one. And it was crazy. Then I'm pretty sure there would definitely be some form of a movement to tell black women to stay away from white men by any means necessary. That would exist. All right. So black women don't hate themselves. And it's not about hating black men. It's about recognizing what they do, who they are, who they have portrayed themselves to be, right? Everyone's trying to like excuse black men for their behavior, or even Jay-Z in the documentary and with Tina Knowles, right? Her getting mad at that white woman because he said, or she said that he's a gangster rapper. Why would you let your daughter marry a gangster rapper? When literally Jay-Z talks about that life he had in his music. He degrades women in his music. Like, everyone knows that he was a drug dealer. Everybody knows this. This isn't news. I showed you guys on one of my lives. It's not up anymore because it really went down a rabbit hole. So I didn't show that. I didn't leave that live up because it had some explicit photos. But I showed you guys Mike Tyson and how the media painted Mike Tyson to be a savage and violent and, another angry black man in the media, right? But it went on to say that in his real life, though, he was a philanthropist. He gave back to his community. He loved working with children and inspiring young boys. But instead of him fighting this own media image that they wanted to put onto him, he chose to accept it. He literally accepted being a savage. He accepted being a savage, guys. Like, that happens all of the time. Like, black men accept these narratives. They accept it. They accept it by talking about it in their music, by talking about it on their platforms, right? There's this Twitter account that I've followed, or like I followed it because it was funny, but it's been around for a very long time. It's called Black Men Don't Cheat. And so it's just this random guy. I don't know who runs it, but he's always just posting tweets about how, obviously black men don't cheat, giving black men relationship tips and how to make the relationship last. And at first I was like, oh, these are good things. Like, I'm glad there's something positive solely directed at black men and their behaviors that have nothing to do with black women or any woman. It's solely about black men being better, right? But then the page kind of started to take a turn. It kind of started to go from like a what Russell Wilson vibe to now straight future savage. And I'm just like, okay, I got to unfollow this page because now y'all aren't giving good advice. Y'all are just regurgitating images of the black man that everybody literally knows about, and not only knows about, but has a genuine problem with, because these stereotypes are formulated from real actions being done that are destructive to communities, right? I mean, I know you guys have been watching the news of black men walking around in New York and smearing poop in a woman's face and tackling women and trying to stab women, just random women minding their business. I know y'all have seen that. Actions are being done by these men disproportionately compared to others who I just lost my train of thought because I'm kind of reading the chat at the same time. But actions are being done disproportionately to others, which is what is formulating these specific stereotypes for Black men. Do other races of men also go around stabbing and doing things to women and each other and even children? Yes, but is it happening at the rate that Black men are doing it? For Black men to only make up what, 6-7% of the population? Like, that is strange. Like, we should be seeing kind of nothing of Black men in the news because there's not enough of them. There shouldn't be enough of them to even talk about. There isn't enough of them to talk about. So the fact that they're still doing stuff to give people to talk about is a problem. It's something that needs to be discussed. How is 6% of a population always in the news and the rest of the 4% of people are barely in it at the same, discussing the same type of things? How make that make sense? 6% of the male population has their image in the news committing the same kind of crimes versus 94% of the population who's barely ever in the news. Which when's the last time you saw someone from the 94% of the population smear poop in someone else's face on the news? Who? Who was it? It wasn't any of us. It was that 6%. It was a man from that 6%. And just all the things that are happening in that subway, a lot of it is coming from that 6% group compared to 94% of other people, of other groups of people. How does that make sense? Like, this is an issue, y'all. It should be the other way around. 94% of people should be up in that news smearing poop and subway stabbings. The 6% should be so small and doing their own thing. They shouldn't be doing the most. There's not enough of them. Like, it should be a calm reality for that 6%. My field of work has a majority of non-Black men that are the better choice because they are at my level. Exactly. I promote dating interracially, swirling, and I definitely support divestment. I have divestment content. I'll probably start making more soon. I do that for Black women, not because the men we're dealt with are Black. I do it for, I can name you reasons that have nothing to do really with Black men on why you should date out. Reason number one, we outnumber our men, right? Have nothing to do with Black men in terms of like who they are as individuals. These are just straight facts. Fact number one, we outnumber our men. Fact number two, our neighborhoods and our communities are not at the level it needs to be to have more nuclear families and for Black women to become wives and feel safe and protected, right? Reason number three, Black women are a little bit more educated than the men in our community, so there's more men that are educated in other communities compared to in the Black community, right? Those are some that I can think of right now, but those have nothing to do. And notice in those reasons, I didn't say anything about Black men being killers and murderers and deserters. Like, I didn't say anything, bullet bags, bandits, criminals. Like, I didn't say anything like that. I gave you straight factual realities that are happening, whether Black men are good or not. You can be a good Black man who doesn't have a degree. But if a Black woman has a degree and she wants a man with a degree, you can be a good Black man, but she wants a man with a degree. So she is more likely to find a good man who has a degree that is not Black, because there are more non-Black men, period, than there is a Black community as a whole. And it is what it is. So Black men shouldn't even be mad at that, right? That's not even something you should, as a Black man, you should be upset about, that a woman wants a man who is at her level or higher. Would you tell your sister not to do that? Would you? Like, my brother, I have an older brother. He would not tell me to not date a guy who is college educated to get with a guy who is not college educated solely because he's black. He wouldn't tell me to do that at all. He just wouldn't, because it wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't make any sense. And in the Moynihan report, it actually acknowledges that black women are bitter towards black men, but they blame that bitterness on um, the lack of education and income that black men have. And they say that is the reason why black women have this bitterness towards black men from that time period, or at least well, it didn't say all black women, but it said black women who are like married in relationships and dealing with black men, on why, the black women are not very submissive, not very respectful towards their men, is because she's working extra hard. It's because she's the only one bringing in a lot of the money. She's the most educated. That is the reasons why. So you can reverse that statement and say black women would actually not be bitter towards black men if more of them were college educated, if more of them made more money, right? But this all is a cycle from from day one of black men getting here, from day one to their freedom. Two opportunities they could have fought: when they came off the ship and when they got freed from slaves. Those were two opportunities they could have fought to reestablish and establish their male dominance, and they didn't do it. They didn't even attempt to. They just got in line with what the white man said during both occasions, right? And yeah, these other spaces bring up positive um positive statistics about black men. No one's saying that there are no black men in STEM, that there's no black men who are educated. Those things are real, right? However, they're not the majority. However, those men still have a mindset, regardless if they're in a suit or if they're in sweatpants. They all still have a mentality and a mindset that is more in alignment with the culture that black men frequent themselves with the most, which is more of the future side. Like, I can't describe it in any other way than just saying future, but y'all know what I mean, right? The Moynihan report says amazing things about black women, actually. It says we were never a threat. It says that we were overwhelmingly, like 70% of high school scholarship recipients, or I'm not recipients, applicants, some kind of scholarship or some kind of education program. 70% of it were black women, young black girls that applied for that program. And the rest was black boys. And the principal tried to get more black boys to apply to these programs for college and this funding. And they couldn't get them. They just didn't want to, the black boys just didn't do it. They didn't participate, right? Black men have made choices throughout the decades, throughout the past few centuries, to lead them here, to lead them to literally being the only group of men whose women are making virtual movements to leave them alone. That says a lot. Remember, we live in a patriarchy. So other groups of men are looking at the men. They're looking at black men like, what is wrong with y'all? Why can't y'all keep y'all woman? Like, they're not looking at black women like we're crazy. But really, I have seen more non-black men not blame black women for having divestment, not blame black women for wanting to swirl and date out and leave the neighborhoods, right? There's more non-black men that are understanding of what's going on than there are that are like, you black women are crazy. Like, I haven't seen, I have not seen across all of my social media platforms I've been on, I have not seen that. If you've seen it, hey, screenshot it and DM it to me. I haven't seen it genuinely. I haven't at all. Because other groups of people live in the world just like us, and they see what black men do as well. There are non-black people that think that the article is ridiculous and stupid. Because like I said earlier, white men are committing crimes as well, but they're not creating documentaries to excuse themselves. They're not creating documentaries to fix their image. They're doing the work. Do we see Middle Eastern men trying to make a documentary about how they're not seen as terrorists? Do we see that happening? Let me know if we see that happening. Let me know if it's happened. Send me the documentary and I'll watch it. Not even Middle Eastern men are doing that. And they definitely get stereotyped as like crazy Muslim terrorists, okay? Because of 9/11 and stuff. How many movies have you seen? And every time there was a Muslim Arab guy and his, his head wrap and all that, they made some kind of a terrorist joke, one of those comedy movies. I'm drinking my tea, y'all. I dropped the link. Anyone wants to come up? Let me see what you guys are saying. I have an uncle. When I said I want to date men at my level or higher, he said, no, I shouldn't do that. See, this is what I'm talking about. It doesn't make any sense. What man doesn't want their woman to seek better? Like, so you want your daughter, your niece, who will basically carry on your lineage, to be with a man who can't provide a healthy environment for your grandchildren, for your great nieces or whatever. Like, how does that make sense? Hey, Black Widow. Like the video if you guys are coming in. I have been saying saving for years. Why can't Black Hollywood put money in the Black community and build? Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because I was on a Clubhouse room earlier and the topic literally was when Black men get put on, they leave the Black community. Like, it was something like that. Let me go check to see if it's even still going, because it was going like all day. And I never went in the room to listen because I was just like, ugh, that probably is going to be an exhausting room. But it's the truth. They criticize divestment, right? And then when they get their own money, they're quick to leave Black women behind. They are quick to leave Black women behind. And all little Black children and little Black boys too. They don't care about them either. But the title of this room, Sons of Mammies are a big reason for divestment, because they are. If Black men were a better group of men, period, in general, divestment wouldn't be as popular as it is. And it is not popular because the men are Black. It is popular because of the things that are done by these men, the patterns that are done by these men that have really nothing to do with Blackness. Being honest has nothing to do with being Black. Being a hard worker has nothing to do with being Black. Being able to protect and provide as a man has nothing to do with being Black. But if you notice, a particular group of men that share the same skin color are collectively not doing these things, well, then they are going to get identified as a group of men who doesn't produce. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I really think these men hate their own Blackness. I think they hate their own Blackness because they're always blaming issues on the fact that they're Black. For you ladies that just came in, I was inspired to do this live because I was in another live from a popular self-proclaimed pick me here on YouTube. And I'm not subscribed, but it popped up on my, my feed. So I just went ahead and joined and I listened because the title was interesting. The title was on male identified mammies and how they're winning. So I listened. I joined the live pretty late. So I listened for the time I was going in. So I was kind of going back and forth a little bit in the comment section with some of the guys in there. And of course, they said divestors hate themselves. Divestors wish they were white. They worship and beg for white men. And like, the funny thing, and about that white male worship BS that they love to say, right? So I go on TikTok a lot, and there are so many other groups of women that love white men and that love men that are not black and not of their own race. Like there's a lot of Latinas that love white men. There's a lot of Asian girls that love white men. I mean, we actually see that Asian women love white men. It's in the data, right? They're the most married um, interracial group, white men and Asian women, right? So we know they love that. So it's crazy how anything that a black woman does, other women do it too. But it's only when a black woman does it, these men have an issue. And that's exactly what I said in the chat. One black man in the chat mentioned me and he said, Black women need to stop having babies out of wedlock. They need to drop the weight. They need to choose better men and actually try to be more feminine and get married. And I told him, everything you just said, other women do too. Other women have kids out of wedlock. Other women are overweight and or obese. Other women also need to work on being more feminine and choose better. Like, you didn't say anything that is exclusive to black women. So basically you didn't make a point. All women have these same things, but it's only when a black woman does it, you feel the need to exploit it into a problem. When really, all women do these things. All women do these things. Like, you're not making a point. If there's nothing you can tell me that is exclusive to black women and black women only that other women don't do, you are putting this in a black woman's face because you just don't like black women. You, sir, may be the very one who doesn't like blackness. That may just be you. Like, because over here, we acknowledge that there are crappy men that aren't black. All right. That's a reality. All right. That's just the truth. Across every divestment channel, it's always said there are dusties that aren't black. All right. We know this. But for some reason, those men over there think that masculinity in women and baby mamaism only happens to black women. They don't call it out for other races of women. They don't. But if you go into the white, quote unquote, white manosphere, they talk about those things too, but they say all women. They don't say white woman only. Like, white men don't just say white women are baby mamas. They don't just say white women are choosing bad boys for husbands. Like, they're not saying that over there. They're saying women, period, which is inclusive of women of every color, of every race, of every culture, from any country that comes and is westernized. They have the same things to say for all of them. But in the black manosphere, it's like, as long as you're a woman with white skin, you're perfect. You are perfect. No one else is putting this this robe of horribleness onto black women except for black men. They're making it an exclusive thing for us when it is literally something that's talked about everywhere else. It is not something that just black women do. Black women are not the only baby mamas, okay? Black women are not. Many times nobody mentions white men, black women. Just point out the failures of black men, and all of the sudden you worship white men. Yeah, exactly. Or you're called a white supremacist. You're called a white supremacist and a self-hating black woman if you literally bring up the real realities of black men and the things that they do. I was in that chat going back and forth with so many of them. I told them, I'm going to go live. Y'all can call into this channel and we can discuss. I have y'all want to call in and talk? We can talk about it. That's what I said to the in the chat to those men, right? Because they wanted me to call into her channel. I was like, I have no desire to call into that channel. I have no desire. Um, she's another black woman, so I'm not going to talk about her. But she is her black male worship is really surprising. Out of all the other pick me channels, I have to be honest, I think hers is the one that, like, It makes the least sense to me. There's actually one pick me channel, and she does a lot of topics I can't even say I have an issue with because she says things that um, Black women should pay attention to. And she doesn't, some of the videos she releases, she's strictly addressing Black women, and she's not so much talking about Black men. She's strictly talking about Black women being more healthy and more fit and all of that. But, you know, a lot of Black men still watch her channel because she still sometimes brings up how important it is for, you know, Black women to be with Black men. But she also doesn't do a lot of content on divestors either. Like this particular live I was on today, this woman does a lot of content on divestors for reasons I will never understand. She's married to a Black man herself. I don't know why she's always talking about divested Black women. She wants them to call into her show. They're never going to do that. They don't care to. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. If I was married to a Black man, guys, and I had a channel trying to bring Black people together, the last thing I would do is dedicate all of my time. Sorry, I'm switching at something. I would not dedicate all of my time to talking about Black women that literally make it clear that they don't want to date Black men. Like I would not, that's not something I would be talking about. If I were to have a pick me channel and married to a Black man, I could care less. I could care less. I would care less about Black women that want to swirl, that want to divest. She's doing these topics because they are clickbait topics. The hot topic in general in the Black YouTube space is divestment amongst everybody. It's divestment. Black men love talking about divestors. As much as they say they hate divestors, they sure do love talking about them. A lot. All of the time. Like I noticed too, because some of her other lives have popped up on my feed. And when she'll talk about things that have to do with eating healthy, um, something else that doesn't have to do with divestment, she doesn't really do any numbers. But it's only when she talks about divestors she does the most numbers. That is what I've noticed. So it's obvious she's doing this for other motives. And I really don't think the Black manosphere would thrive if it didn't talk about Black women all of the time. All of the time. Right? Because I don't consider the BWE space just divestment channels. The BWE space, my definition at least, hey, I mean, for me, BWE is divestment, it's swirling, it's dating interracially, it's femininity, it's traditionalism, it's self-sovereign Black women, it's Black women who are, um, it's Black women who are fit. I mean, it's every single like area of Black womanhood. It's not just on Black men, but I feel like Black manosphere, a lot, a lot of it is on Black women. Like the Black manosphere, quote unquote, channels that I've seen that don't talk about Black women that much. Like I have come across some by Black men and they talk about finance, they talk about investing, they talk about like other things that are, I would actually say, are very useful for these men to watch so that they can get some resources. Yeah. You need more channels like that over there. But those channels do not do numbers, guys. They don't. The only channels that do numbers are the ones that want to talk crap about Black women all day, especially about the Black women that don't even want them. Why is it that Black men as a group are obsessed with talking about women that do not want them? Why? Women in divestment spaces and in BWE in general, we do not talk about men that don't want us. Like we don't. We talk about men that we want. Right? We talk about men we want. We talk, if anything, we talk about the types of men to avoid. We give each other tips on how to navigate dating and not come across any of these weirdos online and stuff, and how to deal with or get away from abusive men. Like, I've seen stuff like that, but we don't talk about men in general that have movements dedicated to not wanting us. Like, SYSBM is what I've seen as the equivalent to divestors. I have never seen a divestor channel upload a video solely about SYSBM, or I'll say this, I've never seen a divestor upload a series of videos solely about SYSBM. The only type of content I've seen regarding Black men in this BWE space is content that has to do with the issues of Black men and how they're overall affecting Black women and girls and children and even each other, right? Like, even each other. So I don't know why they want to talk about divestors all of the time. It's like, at this point, I'm starting to think that they only want to talk about divestors um, to soothe their own self-hatred. So they just want to talk about divestors to project and soothe their own self-hatred. Like, they really do hate themselves, but bringing up divestors and blaming divestors for hating themselves makes them feel better. It just doesn't make any sense. Black women outnumber Black men, so dating outside of the race is inevitable. People need to get over it. Exactly. Like I said earlier, it doesn't matter how great Black men are. There's still going to be a significant number of Black women that, if they want a long-term partner, they're going to have to date out. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, she keeps speaking on divestment, and it's weird. Also, most Black women are single by choice, not because they are divesting. Speak to the Black women who are single and not dating. Exactly. Guys, I already showed you stats, and even the men have said this over there, that majority of women don't really care to even have a relationship. Like, majority of women are choosing to be single. Female home ownership has increased by 80% over the past decade or two. Meanwhile, male home ownership has decreased. And it's different for men and women. When a man buys a house, it's typically like the overall assumption, and what a lot of these men confirm, is that they are actually ready to settle down, have a wife and kids, so he has his house. But now when women buy houses, she's not buying a house to get ready for her husband and kids, right? Like, she's buying her house as her own personal, independent, individual achievement because she wants to have property. I know more women that want to have their own property now so that when they do get married and have kids, they can move in with their husband and kids, but have their house and pass that down to their kids, or rent out their house, and that's like their second form of income. Like, there's women buying property that has nothing to do with providing for a child and a husband, more often than not. Like, they're buying property to be their safety net, their asset, their own individual wealth. Like, majority of women don't care to have a husband. So if you are a woman that does, like, you do want to have a family, you want to be traditional especially, and you want to have a long-term relationship, you are a minority of women of all races. Majority of women do not care to be with a man. Majority of women are not planning their life around making room for a husband and kids someday. Majority of women are more into getting the bag. They're more, into feminism over femininity. They're more into their career. Like, they're not into being traditional. And, I'm pro family, pro nuclear family, and I'm traditional on this channel. I promote that for Black women. So, Black women who think like me and actually are traditional, they are not the majority. All right. So, I don't know why they're talking about Black women like we all want a man so bad. Majority of Black women honestly don't. Majority of women, period, don't. They really don't. So if you're already a minority of the woman, right, in terms of like your relationship goals, You're already a minority in the Black community. Imagine how much of a minority you're going to be when you open up your options to other men, considering the fact that more Black women are not traditional and even more non-Black women aren't traditional, right? Like you're going to have even more options for men versus men. More Black men want relationships, and even more non-Black men want relationships. And a lot of them want to be traditional. Pretty much every guy, even if a guy says he's okay with a 50-50, he's okay with a wife who's a feminist and wants to work and be a career type, he's definitely also going to be okay with being traditional and being like the protector and the main provider. You have more options when you date out as a Black woman. You just do. And a lot of non-Black men do want to marry Black women. They do want to protect and provide and have children with Black women. There is more research to back up the fact that it is Black women who are rejecting non-Black men than there is research to prove that non-Black men just think Black women are disgusting, right? What I'm saying is there is more research to prove that non-Black men simply just get rejected by Black women, and or there is more research to prove that non-Black men don't even bother to approach Black women because they're already under the assumption that Black women wouldn't want them. So they don't even bother to approach. I've actually seen that a lot in some TikTok comments of some non-Black men who, they're also have their cartoon avatars up, right? They're like anonymous online, but they say that they actually find Black women very, very attractive, but they never approached because they don't believe Black women want them. I mean, it's true. They're under the impression that you don't want them, Black women. That's why they don't come up. They don't come up to and talk to you. And so I think the promotion of Black women with white men, Black women who currently are with white men and posting their videos and how it's always going viral on TikTok and then these movements online and then our videos literally expressing that we want other races of men, I think that is actually going to make those men feel, okay, Black women are actually interested in non-Black men. So next time I will talk to one. If I see a Black woman, next time I will approach her. Because this is the internet, y'all. I've mentioned this before. The internet is a global resource. Anyone from anywhere can access this. Like when we have those lives of the OG content creators in Divestment and BWE, like Cynthia G and how she has like thousands and thousands of views. She has like 3,000 views. You don't know who's watching. You can have a good 500 at least non-Black men watching her lives. Thinking like, oh my gosh, like I could probably approach a Black woman because so many of them are like, you know what I mean? Like these men, you don't know where they're at. You don't know what they're looking at. And divestment and swirling promotion um, is actually could majority of the time work in your favor for those men who have always wanted to date a Black woman but have been never tried it because they just didn't think that Black woman wanted him. But now that he's seeing all this confirmation online, he'll gain his confidence and talk to one. Right? Especially the young guys. There was a TikTok that I saw. Dang it. That I want to show you guys. And it was taken at a college campus of white men. Oh my gosh, I think I do have it saved in my phone. Please, please. Yes, I do. Okay, I'm going to show you guys this TikTok I found. It was white guys being interviewed at a PWI about Black women. we're just gonna watch it. I personally had good feelings when I saw it. They non-black men are definitely looking more, at least on dating apps and at the gym. Yeah, honestly, like when I'm at work and walking into my job, non-black men are definitely nodding and smiling my way, actually telling me good morning a lot more than I could ever remember. And I've always lived in a city. I live on the West Coast, if you guys don't know. So there have I've lived here all my life, and I since all of this divestment, everything going on online has started, I have noticed a lot of like younger white men who clearly look like they go online as well. Um, checking me out, talking to me, nodding at me, and opening my door a lot, a lot. So that desire has always been there, y'all. It's always been there. It's always been there. Their desire really has. Now, I was also gonna do another video or possibly a live because I found some evidence. I've already presented evidence like this to y'all before about non-black men who have showed their adoration for black women before slavery or like during or whatever. Well, I found more evidence, excuse me, I found more evidence of non-black men wanting black women. This was after slavery, or I'm sorry, a little bit towards the end of slavery and after slavery, like right after and during like Jim Crow era. Because what they love to say in that space, and what I've heard a lot of on her particular channel, this pick me, is that, white men always had access to you. So if they really wanted you, you'd be over there by the mass, right? Well, I found evidence to prove that that actually was going on, that white men did desire black women before it was even legal. And they were getting married. They were getting married. Apparently, interracial marriage was only legal in certain areas, and it was legal in Canada, I believe, out in the Jim Crow era. And then once the Loving court case happened, it became federal. Like it was legal everywhere. But I think in some parts of the country it was legal, and so there were black interracial couples, like black couples with black women and white men. There was actually one story I came across last night of a white man who, guys, get this. I'll talk more about it later, but basically, it's a real story of a white man who became black. Like he told people he was black. Like y'all know Rachel Dolezal, right? Well, there's a white man that was basically her. Like he told people he was black, also that he can be with a black woman, and he was a very, very wealthy white man. And he had, the crazy thing is though, he had I think he had like another family. He had a whole other family, left town, met a black woman, told everyone else that he was black. She knew he was white and she fell in love with him, but he told everyone else that he was black, like all the other black people and all the other white people, so he wouldn't get in trouble, to be with her and marry her, legally marry her. But he told everybody he was black, but he was a white man. So he, because you know how black people from that time that were really, really light skinned, it was called passing. So he did that, but as a black man. Like he basically did passing in the reverse, like how those black people passed for white. This white man claimed he was mulatto, basically. So, back then, mulattoes were considered like still black. And he did all that to be with this black woman. Yeah, before it was legal. I know, right? It was such an interesting story. I was shocked. I was like, "What? No way!" And he was very, very wealthy white man who passed for mulatto. Just flat out told people, "Oh yeah, My great great grandfather's black. Like he just lied. He just lied. Because I guess back then, if you were a white person, but you had a any type of black ancestry within the last eight grandparents, if any of your last grandparents were black, you were considered black during that Jim Crow era and one drop rule type of stuff. Like that's how deep it was. And so he basically just ran around telling people in the new city he meant that black woman. Now he's like, yeah, no, I'm passing white, but I'm technically black. Like my great great grandma is black, and he had everyone believing he was this black man. He had everyone believing he was black, y'all. He was completely white. I mean, lily white. But he wanted to be with this black woman so bad. Like he is the original Rachel Dolezal, like for real. But like for real, a white man being Rachel Dolezal, it was crazy. Yeah, it's a true story, guys. And so I was gonna show it to you guys. But they, they love to say that though. They love to say that I'm sorry, if white men really wanted black women as wives, they would have been marrying you because they've always had this access to you, right? Well, there's plenty of stories where they definitely was marrying black women. Like I don't know, back before it was not, um, it wasn't even legal back then, right after slavery and Jim Crow era South. And it ain't like it stopped there. Like those marriages continue to happen. Like the Loving case, that wasn't the only black woman white male relationship, child. There was probably so many. Like they was just on the low. Duh. It was illegal. Like you're not just gonna create all those relationships and they're just gonna be all out there. Legal. Like they was in love and marrying each other in secret. And then it became legal and then it became a normal thing. But let me show you guys this TikTok of these young white boys. And we're just kind of look at it because when I watched it, I didn't see it as a problem. Not at all. Hold on, wait, let me take this down. I didn't see it as a problem at all. But it kind of like made me think a little bit. And y'all can let me know if I was reaching or are y'all catching the same vibe. Hold on, it's downloading.
All right. Have you ever dated a black woman?
I actually have not.
Vinny, bro.
I've not. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, no, I have not.
Unfortunately.
I almost did. Almost. I was starting to date her, or I was like getting really interested in this girl. Her name was, believe it or not, Shaniqua. And when I was in middle school, that's what she went by. And
middle school, you was young. No. It's a no.
I have not.
Why?
Well, I actually only dated 3 people, and the third person was my wife. So
That's kind of cute.
No, but I'd be down.
Yes.
What was her name?
Okay, give me a second. This was a long time ago.
It must have only been for like a week.
It was 2 dates.
Okay.
no, I have not,
Why not?
because I've dated like 2 people in my life.
Facts. Okay, cool.
Okay, so what did you guys think about that? What was your guys' vibe from that, right? Because didn't see anything in that video about men saying that they didn't date black women because they're disgusting, because they're overweight, and all of these things. It was nothing about that at all, right? Nothing, none of the things that they claim in the manosphere and on the pick me channels as to why white men don't date black women. None of those things was said by these men. And notice how it was a black man leading and asking these questions. Like, what do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think in the chat or something. Because I'm thinking, okay, like, obviously these guys said it like they were still kind of, like a lot of them said no, but said it in a way that was like, I'm open to it vibe. And then you seen those two white guy, that one white guy straight up said no, but I'd be down, right? What is your guys' vibe from this video? I want to go back to the comments. Let me see what the comments were saying too. My great grandfather was a white man and married my great grandmother, who was a black woman. And I'm a mid-tone brown skin black, no one can tell. Yeah, I actually have a great great grandfather was white, and he married my black great great grandmother. Unfortunately, though, he was taken out by other men because he was with her, because she was black. But they were in love and they married, and they were married. And I definitely think that was way before the the loving case. They weren't repulsed by the thought of it. They just seemed to feel disappointed that they hadn't. Yeah, that's that. You know what, Capricorn? Like, that's the exact vibe I got once I watched this. The vibe I got was they were not repulsed. They didn't think, oh, well, no, I would never. Like, it was just more of a, no, I haven't done that yet. I haven't dated a black woman yet. No. Right. And then the guys, some of the guys were already married. These dudes is in college, young and married, those two white guys. Or not, or one was married, I think, right? And then the other white guy was like, I've only dated two people. So it was more so of a, no, I haven't had the opportunity. No, I haven't haven't been around any black woman I like. It was more stuff like that, which are actually natural. You can kind of say that about anybody. I feel like there's a lot of black women that could say that. Oh, it could have been reversed and was all black women being asked, have you ever dated a white man? And maybe a lot of black women be like, no, especially like if they're divested or they're open to it or something. The male interviewer seemed like he wanted them to say something rude about black women to joke about it. Yeah, he would have definitely laughed for sure. He would have laughed. What about they thinking about it now, right? They are, but this is a PWI, so that's why I don't think like there's probably a lot of black women there. So it may, like a lot of the times, guys, for these non-black men, it's all about proximity. They're just not around a lot of black women. They're around more non-black women, and I think that's where divesting comes in for black women to now be in these spaces. Put yourselves in proximity to better men. And the unfortunate reality is a lot of these better men just so happen to not be black. I mean, it's just, hey, it's not what I feel. It's just the reality. A lot of them aren't black. A lot of these better men, right? It's just the truth. Just the truth. My great grandfather was white and my great grandmother was black. I'm Haitian too. My great grandfather was Jewish. Yeah, guys, the fact that we all have some kind of white in us as black people clearly says that there were unions where people got together. And I mean, if you have especially if you have a white grandparent post slavery, then that union was probably done out of love and not like a forced situation, if you know what I'm saying. And even during slavery, there were situations where black women fell in love with white men. I mean, there's situations where black female slaves fell in love with the white massa. Like, that's a very real thing. I told you guys that I found a story on a white girl told the story of her ancestry, and she said that her great 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 white grandfather owned a plantation, and he was very rich, and he gave it all up because he fell in love with one of his black female slaves. He gave everything up, sold it all, moved them to England so that they can be together. And he gave up all his riches here in the US to move to Europe to be with her. So, you know, There's plenty of stories like that, guys. Like, not every union between a black woman and a white man during slavery was forced. There actually was loving unions. I mean, to the point where the black women were got their freedom because they fell in love. The white man fell in love with her. Like, and that's how she got her freedom. So, it's very, the ignorance in that space, that they literally think that black women are really worth nothing to other groups of men and never were worth anything, is completely false. And it says a lot about them. Like, if you think black women are just so worthless, why the hell you want to be with them anyway? Why would you want to be with a group of women that literally no one else wants and no one else sees beautiful, as they love to say over there? Like, why you want to be with black women then, since you believe all that stuff? Like, to me, that is white supremacy talking points, if I'm really keeping it real. Because you're saying black women are disgusting and don't deserve, healthy partners, or can't date out, because not because we truly have those undesirable qualities, but simply because we're black. Like, that's actually a white supremacist talking point, honestly, especially when the women who get approached by white men, especially when there's just so many white men that don't even believe what you say. Doesn't make any sense. Like, that's more of a white supremacist talking point, saying that white men don't want you because y'all are loud and fat and you're black. They want their own woman. They cherish their white skin, so they don't want y'all because you're blackness. Like, what? Like, that is a white supremacist talking point, because you're literally elevating whiteness as the reason why someone is unworthy to be with a white person. That's the truth. So for you guys just coming in, this is a TikTok that I found. I was talking a little bit just a few minutes ago about how divestment is going to be a catalyst to get non-black men to start approaching black women more, because non-black men, majority of the time, don't date black women for a few reasons. This can be proven by research, y'all, which I'm also going to bring up too. For a few reasons. One is proximity, and the other is that they just simply don't believe black women want them, so they don't even bother to approach. So I found this TikTok of white boys being asked at a PWI if they dated black girls. So I can play it again if for you new people coming in, and please like this video. So let me play this one more time.
Have you ever dated a black woman?
I actually have not.
Vinny, bro.
I've not. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, no, I have not.
Unfortunate. I almost did. Almost. I was starting to date her, or I was like getting really interested in this girl. Her name was, believe it or not, Shaniqua. And when I was in middle school, that's what she went by. And
middle school, you was young. No.
It's a no.
I have not.
Why?
Well, I actually only dated 3 people, and the third person was my wife. So
That's kind of cute.
No, but I'd be down.
Yes.
What was her name?
Okay, give me a second. This was a long time ago.
It must have only been for like a week.
It was 2 dates.
Okay.
No, I have not.
Why not?
Because I've dated like 2 people in my life.
Facts. Okay, cool.
All right. So that was that TikTok. But I played that TikTok to prove that there are young white men, non-black men, that haven't dated black women, but it's not because they think you are nasty, obese, attitude, loud, baby mamas. It's more so, probably, if I had to guess, the men didn't state this in the video, but if I had to guess, they're at a PWI, so it's definitely have to do with proximity, right? And also, they also probably, according to research, they also probably believe that Black women just wouldn't be interested. Simple as that. There's probably many reasons, but those are mine. Those are according to the research, and literally in the video they're at a PWI, so it has to do with proximity. PWI, there's not a lot of Black people there. And I said, like, this is where divestment comes in to fix the proximity issue. Because if you are divesting, then you're going into predominantly non-Black spaces if you're divesting, right? I mean, pretty much. So when you divest, getting with a man who is not Black is going to be a result of you divesting, because you are going to be around these men. So I'm reading the comments, and it says that this school is in Utah. Oh, well, it was BYU. So that's Brigham Young University. That's in Utah. Yeah, Utah's a pretty non-Black area, if you know what I'm saying. So no surprise. No surprise. I'm kind of reading through the comments on my iPad, guys. But what did you guys think of this? Unfortunately, no, interesting. Exactly. It was interesting. He said, unfortunately, no, like he wants to, basically, right? Like, that's kind of what that means. But as I'm reading the comments, a lot of Black women in the comments of this TikTok are saying, like, what was the point in this? Like, why did you have to do this? And but when I looked at the TikTok account, they do a lot of this stuff. They talk a lot about race to students. And it was Black History Month, so they were asking all these kind of Black related questions. So that was the point of the video. Utah is super white. Probably don't have. Yeah, it's a pretty non-Black area, guys. So, but for these guys to be in such a white area and still some of them expressed openness to wanting to date a Black woman, that is quite interesting. So, hey, like, they love to say in those pick me spaces and in the Black manosphere about divestment, like, where are we gonna go? They don't want y'all. And there is really no evidence to prove like this TikTok and research to prove that they don't want Black women, simply for all these superficial reasons, right? It's not it. Because the fact of the matter is, Black men in this space, I'm starting to notice they all see Black women the same as like these obese, loudmouth, purple hair wearing mammies. Like what, they have this weird image of Black woman that literally, I really don't think the rest of the world has that image of Black women. They just don't, because I believe that the rest of the world has more resources than Black men do as a whole. I believe the rest of the world has the ability to go outside and travel and see all types of women, all types of colors, all different shapes and sizes. And so there's no way that they can consume all of that and diminish Black women down to their weight, and if they have kids, or the fact that they have kids, which I told you guys, majority of Black women are not single moms, especially young Black women. Black women under the age of 30, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Young people aren't even having sex like that. So there's no, how are they making all these babies? How are the young girls making all these babies and they ain't even out here having sex? That doesn't make any sense. Like, the manosphere spaces and the pick me channels, they're just doing, this is all for money. Like, I had Aaron Fontaine on my channel. If you guys saw that video I did with him, and he's been in the manosphere critiquing it for like almost 5 years or so, about 4 years. He has a blog on it, and he said, he says it right there in that interview that the like heavy hitter creators in the Black manosphere solely do it for money. Like, they don't do it to speak facts. They don't do it to fix anything. They solely do it for money. I mean, it's just the truth. That's why they're so comfortable spitting nonsense and feeding into these delusions, right? Like, the Black woman, like, if you guys have watched my videos, pay attention to the type of Black woman I have in my videos. They look nothing like the Black woman that the men talk about. Nothing like them. And there's so many more Black women that look like that and have that kind of lifestyle where they have no kids and they're getting to their bag and they're about their business, versus the Black woman that the men talk about here online. Like the Black woman that I post about is technically the majority as far as like lifestyle looks and all of that, right? And I'm not trying to shame Black women who are single mothers. Nothing wrong if you have a child. It's just that when men want to exploit women with that type of situation, that's not okay. And then they want to put it on all women. Not all women are baby mamas, right? Not all women are baby mamas, period, and not all Black women are. I said earlier in this live that for the first time ever in 2020 in human history, women here are the most single and childless they've ever been. So them talking about baby mamas and single mothers all of the damn time is like, for what? They're not the majority of women out here. They're not the majority of women out here. Like, you're wasting your breath talking about these women who are single moms because, yes, there are single mothers. But they are not the majority. So if you are a man who wants a relationship, there are plenty of women that you can start a family with that has no kids if that's your preference. Because there are still men who don't mind a woman who has kids. But for men who do care about that and don't want a woman with kids, and you're on here complaining about relationships and how every woman has a kid, you're lying. They do not. They do not. They do not. I'm in my 30s and still trial free. Yeah. Ash, like, that's the reality for a majority of women, to be honest. It's the reality. Like, I mean, hey, I don't know why these men are talking about this stuff. They're wasting their time. They don't know what they're talking about. And then I had another person in that chat. I think she was a Black woman. I'm not sure, but she was like a moderator in the chat. Tell me that the statistics and the articles I pull up and stuff, that they don't count if they're from Google. And if they're not from Google, then I don't know what I'm reading because I'm not a professional. I'm not a statistician, whatever the word is, to be able to interpret those stats properly, right? So then I responded back like, okay, so I'm not smart enough to read these stats correctly, but yet all these random pick-me's and Black manosphere creators on YouTube are. Like, what makes them any different? Like, they make no sense over there. It's pathetic. And they really are the reason for divestment, because who wants to be around people like that? What woman wants to spend her life with men who think everything's happening to them because they're Black, instead of them realizing that everything's happening to you because you're not a hard worker? Everything's happening to you because you've been dishonest, because you haven't been choosing the right type of people to be around. That's why these things are happening to you. There is so much research to prove that the history of Black manhood has suffered because of Black men not doing what they need to do as men compared to other groups of men, right? Black men aren't the only group of men that have been captured. There's Chinese men and other white men, the Slavics, which are modern day Russians and Ukrainians, were also taken in as slaves. The only difference is they fought back, right? The Native American people, there's barely any Native American people today. Why? Because they fought back. They literally gave their lives, died or whatever, instead of trying to be enslaved by the Christopher Columbus crew that came here. I mean, every group of men, they fought. Brazilian Black men were, slaves. They fought too. It is only the Black American man that decided to not fight. He decided to just go along with what's being told to him. And that's just that, right? I mean, come on. If you as a group of men have that type of history, no one is going to take you seriously. No one is going to have this desire to be with you. it is what it is. You can't you can't make people believe that you are a top-notch guy and your history shows the complete opposite of that. Your history shows that you have been dominated by multiple groups of people for centuries. And now today you want to walk around like you're top-notch? It doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, we can't go back in time. We can't change the history. We can't. But the difference is for Black women, our history is, we've been very sexualized in our history. However, today, Black women are very educated. We're also the fastest group of entrepreneurs. Like, Black women have actually chosen to not stick with that history, right? Do Black women still Are Black women still sexual? Do Black women still have a sexuality? Yes. But does it overtake our lives at a broad scale to the point where none of us are in school? None of us are employed. We're all just prostitutes and sex workers? No, that's not happening. And we're not even adopting that image. You do have your Black female entertainers that have very hypersexualized images, but that doesn't transmit into reality, though, is what I'm saying. Like, you have Meg the Stallion, right? But the reality of Black woman, of an everyday Black woman, is not Meg the Stallion. The reality of an everyday Black woman is she's probably in school, she probably has a job, she's working somewhere, she has her own business, she's living at home with her parents. Like, the reality of young Black woman is not Meg the Stallion. Like, there's only one Meg the Stallion. She is an entertainer. We can differentiate the two. Right? Now, Future, on the other hand, that is who Black men have. But there are so many men who are not entertainers that are everyday Black men who adopt that mentality. And it is reflected in the stats. It is reflected in the homicide rates. I said earlier in this live that as a Black person, you are 8 times more likely to experience a homicide versus a white person who's only twice as likely to experience a homicide. I mean, hey, it translates in the stats for Black men because they're not finishing school. They are the most unemployed, right? We all seen that article. Black men cost the government $50 billion, right? And then there's so many other little rappers, little babies, little Yachties, little Kodaks, whatever. There's so many more. All these rapper guys, like, there's probably a lot of, I'm not into rap, so I really don't even know who's up on the scene. There's a lot of other on the scene female rappers. However, they're not overtaking the rise of they're not overtaking the rise of Black male rappers. Hold on, y'all. I think I see a bug or something. Okay, I definitely saw a bug. I'm sorry. I had to go see like what kind, but it wasn't the kind that scares me, so it's okay. But yeah, like, Black women have disproved their image compared to Black men. They have disproved these stereotypes. Like, Black women aren't out here engaging in sex industries now that we're modern day. Considering our hypersexualized history of what Black women had to go through, unfortunately. So, hey. So I have the link dropped if anybody wanted to come up. But the Sons of Mammies is the reason for divestment. Black women are divesting, not because the men are Black. They are divesting because the men who are in proximity to us do the most damage disproportionately compared to other men. And Black women don't want to be around it anymore. And how could you blame them? If Black men were just a better group of men overall, I don't think that I don't think I don't think divestment would be as popular as it is if black men were collectively a better group of men. That's just what I believe. So, but this TikTok I found was very interesting because there's so many men that are attracted to black women and would actually date and be with a black woman. And it's kind of sad that this even has to be talked about. But the fact of the matter is that when you have a group of men speaking bad about the group you identify with as a woman, you have to talk about these things. You have to bring up the proof. Because I have seen a lot of black women say, why are you talking to them? Why reason with them and all this stuff? And I do agree. But you do have to say something, guys. You have to say something. You have to bring up the facts, the proof, videos, whatever. Whatever. You have to say something. Like, this is why people sue other people for defamation, right? That's why people do it, because you do have to say these things because you're the only one who's in charge of your image. And that includes what you do, but it also includes what people say about you. And if people are saying things and you can literally prove that they are wrong on a like general broad scale, you make them look stupid. Now what we see a lot of is the black men trying to do just that. They're trying to change their image by telling us, where we're wrong, bringing up all the stats on black men 54% childless and all this stuff, right? Which is also not correct. It's not true. 54% of black men are not single and childless. That doesn't make any sense, because you still have a lot of black men that are technically childless, meaning they have kids, but they're not living with the kids. They're on child support. There's a lot of black men on child support. So it's funny how they haven't brought up that data yet. But anyway, right? And, responding to them, right, Capricorn. I don't believe they're signing the birth certificates either. But responding to these men who want to speak bad on black women, and us having more channels and platforms, we're bringing up proof, we're bringing up data, we're bringing up research, we're even bringing up historical documents and narratives from other people, and studies and reports like the Moynihan report. And that being read was honestly kind of huge, because the Moynihan report literally has this whole sentence that says black women were not a threat in any way to white society, to people in general, right? Like, those things are so important to talk about. It is important to respond, because you can't just let people go around defaming who you are. You have to say something, because if more and more people try to, or more people believe what is being said that isn't true, is not in alignment with reality, you are actually going to be the one who suffers, not that person, because other people are believing what's said about you. So that is going to change how they treat you, not the person that's speaking on you. And that is why lawsuits for defamation exist. Like, you literally can sue people for speaking bad on your name, because it is something you take seriously. You do need to respond. You do need to stick up for yourself and your image, because that affects your livelihood, your reputation. That's important. And we do need certain BWE creators to counteract those narratives and bring up the proof. So, I see some ladies in certain comment sections of other creators that feel some type of a way when a content creator calls into the show. But if a content creator is calling in to clear the air and present proof and data, that is necessary. Okay, that is necessary, because like I said earlier, the internet is a global entity. Anybody who is anyone could get on here and read things about you. So imagine if there was no BWE. Imagine if it was strictly Black Manosphere, and imagine the young the young white boys that I just played for you. Imagine if they came on to the Black YouTube and they only saw Black Manosphere content. There was no BWE, no black woman ever called into a show to challenge the narratives. All these non-black men that we're saying we want consumed black manosphere content and absolutely nothing else, and then went out into the real world. How do you believe that they would look at black women like they're suitable? Like, do you believe so? Knowing that they've only consumed what black men have said, because there's no BWE spaces and there's no BWE creators coming on to challenge the narrative and actually dispel them. Can you imagine that? So this is why I said divestment is so important. It's actually, and it's also, yes, there's also a level of importance to certain divestors going into comment sections and challenging what these people are saying, because this stuff can be seen by other people. So you do need to respond. Defamation is real, and it doesn't just happen with celebrities. It can happen to anyone. We do have a caller. I'm going to put her on. Hold on, let me take this down. Hey, you're on the stream. Hey, Ash. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you? So I
I'm doing
just
good. Can you hear
that's
me?
good. Yes, I can hear. So I can hear you. I'm a bit nervous, so
Oh,
just bear
you're
with me.
fine.
So
Girls
I
are
mean,
nervous.
yeah, so I agree with you. I'm in a different country now, and the reputation laws are the defamation of character laws are so strong. And if you talk bad about a company or a person, they can sue you. So, and I do agree with you that Black women needs to protect their own narrative. Even if you're at work, protect your own narrative because your reputation is very important. And if the white boys will get to see if the white boys see the Black manosphere constantly all the time, and there's no WB, no
BWE, yeah.
yeah, you
Mhm.
know what I mean, like BWE spaces or something like that, we will never have grace as Black women. These dusties, and I'm being nice, these dusties always degrade us all the time. The pink Mishas always degrade us all the time. And, when I start to notice, it doesn't matter if you're a divester or a swirler or a hypergamy woman, it doesn't matter what route you want to take to separate from that type of Blackestein mentality. For some reason, they're always jealous of us women because we want something better for ourselves. We want to live a better lifestyle. Where it is, some of us even want to return and get an education. But for some reason, as we get higher, they're going to try. This is what I noticed in the American culture, in the Black community, in the American culture, they try to drag you down with you.
Mhm.
Whereas for me, since I'm from a diaspora culture in the Caribbean, they will kill you. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but they would do something not nice to you worse than that. So, it's really like these men are just delusional, and it's really, it's really sick. And guess what? Time and time again, they just keep on exposing themselves. So for me, I would say, ladies, it's best to just move forward, do what you think is right for you, and just move forward. Forget about them. Forget about the pygmishas. The pygmishas, they're jealous. So, yeah.
Yeah, defamation is serious, and like, only you can really be in control of your image and your narrative. And the fact that, black men are trying to change their image, they're doing it they're doing it not in a genuine way, because they're not attaching any work to it. There's no stats to reflect that they're not the most violent, that they're not all these things they're trying to dispel. There's more evidence to prove that they are a very violent group of men, that they are, and just in general, there is no group of men that are trying to make themselves seem like they don't do anything violent. There's no other group of men that are trying to make themselves seem like they are um just doing all the right things. Like they're busy in society doing it. Like they're not creating these documentaries, they're not creating platforms online to change this type of narrative. They're just focused on doing the work and letting the work speak for themselves. So the fact that there's a lot of black men wanting to do more talking than doing, which is why they have all the time to be on these platforms and not enough of them are out there doing the work. They have to also believe that they need to do this because they know they're not doing the work, because they know there not enough of them are doing what it takes to be seen as a very good group of men. They are exposing themselves. They're exposing themselves all of the time when they want to get up here and then rally up the pick Misha crew and talk about black women. I mean, they don't even talk about how to better themselves as men. It's solely speaking about black women and trying to make it seem like the very real traumatic experiences black women have had at the hands of so many black men. They're trying to get on here and really say that that's not true. And that is insane to me. That's insane to me. Like, you can't quantify somebody's traumas. Like, if people are saying this group has traumatized me the most, that is an issue. That is an issue. And yeah, you can say other races of women have said their group of men have traumatized them the most. However, it's still not happening disproportionately the way it is with black women. Like, they still have a lot more protectors and providers than they do with abusers in those communities. And the result of how well those communities are doing is proof of that. And I don't know why the men over there, they just don't understand it. It's like, are we living in the same reality or are y'all just in crazy cuckoo black man land? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I just think that the majority of them are living in fantasy land, you know?
Yeah.
And what's going on when I see, okay, if you look what's going on with the Ukraine right now, I guarantee you they're going to blame the economy and stuff. Okay, fine. The economy is bad right now, you know, but what you're going to do to protect yourself, what you're going to build, what you're going to do. And, you know, I'm just not, um, I'm just not listening to that anymore, that narrative, you know? It's like I'm tired of it, you know, trying to
Yeah.
find something. But you know, you give these people like a chance to opportunize themselves. And then you're right about them cleaning up their image, but they would drag black women into it
Mm-hmm.
for some reason. They would just drag the black woman into it. And then if you do that, then we will be blamed for it. You understand? If we even help them, they blame you.
Yeah, they'll resent you.
Yeah, they resent you, they will blame you, call you all types of names, and to the point they will harm you. So for me, it's like, you know, yeah, I guess for me, they need to figure it out on their own. You know, if it's all about supporting them and not protecting black women, then they need to figure that out on their own. You know, so yeah.
Yeah. And they are so intimidated by whiteness that they blame everything on the fact that they're not white as the reason why they're hated and why they're always bashed or whatever. They blame it on the fact that they're not white. They believe over there that if they were white, that they would be treated better and much more liked by black women. They fail to see that it really has to do with your character, not just your color. Like, it has to do with the things that you do and or support, or the things you want to stay silent on. You don't want to hold other people accountable. You want to go along with the dysfunction that men that look like you create, and that is what makes you problematic. It's not just because you're black. It's a whole nother, it's so much more deeper than that. And they just don't have the range to understand that. And that's unfortunate. And that is why there is a divestment movement. Why would you want to be with a group of men that just don't get it? So
I mean, sometimes you just have to whatchamacallit, I don't know the word for it right now, but something when it comes to certain group of people, you have to separate yourself. And you know, like I saw this from somewhere, I don't know verbatim, but if you hang out with 5 idiots and you're there, and if you're friends with these 5 idiots, you'll be the 6th idiot. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
I've
if you
heard
hang out
that
with
too.
the five, yeah, if you hang out with five rich people, you might be the sixth rich person, you know? So for me, sometimes you got to be careful who is in your group circle, who do you talk to, and their thought process. And if anything, just remove yourself from that group. And that's it. That's a part of leveling up, or that's leveling up or moving forward with your life. You have to find out what best fits for you. So, you know.
I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah, I was just in that live today and it was really annoying what the men were telling me in the chat. I was like, you guys really can't be this delusional. Like, y'all really can't. Y'all can't. Like, I know y'all live in the same world that the rest of us live in. I know y'all see the news and they pretty much all live here in the US. So I know that y'all see what happens here, especially more so than anywhere else. Like, there's no way that y'all really believe these delusions you're telling yourselves that y'all are not the most violent group, that things Black women go through, other women go through, which is actually the truth, but it does not happen at the same rate it does with Black women, which is the issue. Like, they don't understand that. They don't understand that it's happening too much for there to be a small group of women and a small group of men, and it's happening more than 60% of other groups of people. It's the proportions that are off. So, thank you for coming up. Do you have anything else that you
Yeah,
wanted to
I'll
say?
just yeah, I just
Or you
want to
want to stay
say
up?
like, well, I just want to say, ladies, just move forward and move forward and do what you think that's right for you. You don't have to listen to these idiots, to these men. Just do what's best for you and move forward. That's all I have to say. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I was even in that chat. I was telling the men, I'm gonna go live. You guys should come over and we can discuss this. I was like, y'all can call in. I have all if y'all want to discuss this, y'all want to actually say it with your chest, go ahead. Go ahead. Cause you're gonna and none of them have called because they know they kind of sound a little they'll sound crazy. They would sound crazy. So it is what it is. Black women are going to continue to move on. They're going to continue to go to what's serving them. And there's really not anything Black men can do about it. They can kick, they can scream, they can have the same tired lives time and time again. It's not going to change anything. And more evidence like that TikTok I showed you guys, and like more data and stories I'm going to show you guys of non-Black men who literally gave up their lives, their everyday lives in white society to be with a Black woman. Yeah, I'm going to show you guys more of that. Already, if you guys watched my other library, we went over the Moynihan report, and then I went over another story written by a very wealthy non-Black man who traveled to Barbados and lived there for a few years and wrote a few chapters, or not chapters, but a few pages on how amazingly beautiful this Black woman was, and that he called her like even more graceful and majestic than a queen. And he said that she was the most beautiful Black woman he'd ever seen. And the entire evening, he was just figuring out how he can make her smile and how he can talk to her. But she was taken. She belonged to another man, and so he didn't pursue her further. But there's so many narratives of non-Black men seeing Black women naturally beautiful. And that was before slavery. That was like in the 1500s, mid 1500s. Well, I wouldn't say before slavery, but very early on, 1560s. I think that was before slavery, right? Didn't slavery happen first in the US? 1600s? Not sure. I forgot. But yeah, the Sons of Mammies is a big reason for divestment. And they are. And it's not because they're Black. It's because they choose to not do good things. They choose to sit online and talk about their woman all night and day. They choose to quit their jobs and make money off of talking about their own women. And that's why other groups of men consider them pathetic and don't take them seriously. I said earlier that what if non-black men didn't have any other narratives to follow um, when it comes to black women and they strictly went off of black men? I don't even think I don't even think that would be possible. I actually take that back. I think the fact that they see black men online talking about women all day and all the women are doing other things with their life, I think those non-black men would probably look at black men as a problem even more so. Even more so if that was the case. Now that I really think about it. Now that I really think about it. Yeah. There's been I mean, even here on YouTube, guys, like I know you guys saw that video because so many BWE creators were talking about that dating coach, that pickup artist, and the white guy called in and was saying that, um, that's why the black community is the way it is, because the black men, they just want to sleep around. He was like, he was probably a white supremacist that called in. But he wasn't lying though. Like I couldn't say he was lying. I couldn't say he was lying. I think white men are going to speak out more about their opinions of black men and how black men conduct themselves. Yes, they really are. They are, guys, especially if more of them start dating black women. Yeah. They are going to speak out big time. They're going to speak out big time. And they're not going to have a problem with it. I'm dating a Russian man myself, and he was a police officer first. He's doing another job, but he was a cop, and he's seen a lot of things. So he's not racist, obviously. But he said that the things that are said about black men in crime, he has seen them firsthand. It's just a reality. Like it's not about being racist. It is a reality. And it doesn't have to be if black men stop doing those things. If they just stopped, and just, got a job, did more in the community, got involved more, or was around their families. I don't know, something. And guys, the job market right now, they're hiring a lot. They're hiring a lot. There's a for hire sign. I don't know about y'all in y'all cities, but in my city, there is a hiring now sign everywhere. So many places. What is the excuse? These men really can't decide to not I these men cannot really believe that instead of working a real job, it's better for them to sit online and talk about black women that don't want them, by the way, right? They're talking about divestors have made it clear they do not want black women. They're talking about other women that simply don't want relationships, because there's so many studies that I've shown on my channel and other black men have said for themselves on their platforms that majority of black women actually choose to be single. They don't care to be with anyone. Majority of women, period, choose to be single. Majority of women do not want to be traditional. Majority of women are more so about getting the bag. They're choosing feminist over femininity. So if you're a traditional woman who wants a relationship, you're a minority. You're a minority group of women. Majority of women don't want that. Right? I was talking about all of that earlier. So, it is what it is. That live was interesting. I rarely go on to pick me channels like that and actually engage and be in the chat, but I did engage with this one. And I challenged their points. I'm not trying to sit here and say I was right about everything. They were right about everything, but I put up a challenge, and I'm not just going to sit somewhere and let someone say all these crazy things about black women that aren't even the majority of everyday black women's lives, especially the ones that they say they want who are under 30. Majority of black women under 30 are not baby mamas. They're in school, they have jobs. Like, they're not out here being whores and thoughts. They're not. And even if they are, there's whores and thoughts in every group. There's sex workers in every group. I've seen sex workers say that they don't even like having black men as customers because they're so aggressive and they want you to like be emotional. And a sex worker, like, she's doing her job. Like, she's not gonna fake be in love with you for a couple minutes because you paid her. Like, you paid her for sex and that's all you're getting. And these sex workers say the black men just don't understand that. And they also try to lowball you. The sex worker will say her price and the black man will try to like pay less. So I don't know. It's just a lot. I think I'm gonna leave this live up actually. I think it was a decent conversation. And yeah, I'm just gonna leave this live up. I know I said I wasn't in the description, but I'm gonna leave it up. A feminist can be feminine. Yeah, of course, obviously. Yeah, I think a feminist can be feminine. Um, I was just saying, according to like research, though, there's a lot of women who are claiming more feminist ideologies that aren't trying to subscribe to gender roles and, they're also more likely to be violent and try to pimp them. Yeah, I've heard that too. I mean, y'all, like, sex workers have stories for days. Like, we already know this, and they have no problem speaking out about it. And from the ones I've heard, it hasn't been very positive about black men at all. It hasn't been very positive about black men at all. I mean, hey, and I don't, guys, when I say these things about black men, I'm not saying it as like I'm happy about it and I'm relishing in how horrible these group of men are. It's sad, actually. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't have to be that way. Black men should want to do better. Like, you're never going to sit up here and you're never going to hear me sit up here and be happy about how horrible black men are doing in society. The entire country will actually benefit off of black men being more productive. It's just what it is. I mean, the economy will benefit from more black men having jobs. The economy will benefit more from more families, right? Because if you have a family, you're consuming more, you're spending more money, you're buying a house, which is a big purchase, right? You're paying for a lot of things. You have kids now. So, you're spending more money. And black men having more jobs, well, that will boost up the economy. It will boost up the productivity. That means black men will spend more money legitimately because they have legitimate jobs, which will all fall in. Like, nobody benefits from black men being at the bottom or being a whole lot worse than everyone else. No one benefits from that. But if this is what they choose to do, well, hey, like, what can you do? Like, it's their choice. Hey, uppity. These sex workers are outing black men for being too emotional because black men think sex workers are women to date. They can't tell the difference. Yeah, exactly. They can't tell the difference. And then if they don't want to get a sex worker, they want to get a regular girl and try to turn her into a sex worker. So that, meaning that they want to take you out to eat and buy things for you and then make you feel like you now owe them your body because they took you on a few dates, right? I mean, I talked about that a little bit in my last live on modern men. They're choosing whores over wives. Modern men love Jezebels and are actually rejecting wives. I talked about that. Right? Like, they are trying to turn sex workers into girlfriends and trying to turn women who are actually have the qualities and want to be a girlfriend, want to be a wife, and trying to make them turn into sex working women. It's so backwards, it doesn't make any sense. And other men, they understand the differences, okay? Other men seek marriage, number one, because that's just how they were raised to value families. That's just number one. It's just in their culture. So when they're in the dating market, they can tell the difference between women who are in the sex work industry or in the exotic dancers industry and all that stuff, and women that they actually marry and take home and make wives, right? Because it shouldn't be something bad to say. I'm not saying that exotic dancers or sex workers don't one day want to have a family and all that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that most often than not, sex workers are understanding that they have a job. And so they're not trying to do their job and then end up Betty Crocker at the end of the next morning or something. You know what I mean? So, other men can see the differences, and those women acknowledge the differences, and they live their life how they want to live it. So, it is what it is, guys. Like, divestment is a wake-up call for Black men. And um, I think right now they are angry at the wake-up call. But don't let any of the crap they put out fool you. Okay? It looks worse that there is a movement done by a group of women that is solely inspired by how crappy their men are. That looks worse on Black men than it does for you. And they try to make it seem like, oh, everyone thinks Black women are crazy and all this stuff. Nope. Nobody thinks that. Literally no one thinks that. That's why in the comment sections of the Pick Me channels, Kevin Samuels, all of them, you don't see non-Black men commenting and agreeing with those men. You only see Black men up in there. All right? Because they're the only ones who think like that. Non-Black men are silent. I actually see more non-Black men commenting on divester spaces, talking about my wife is Black and I'm so happy I'm with her. It's been 20 years and blah, blah, blah. Like, I see more of that happening in BWE spaces than I do with non-Black men going to Black manosphere saying, oh yeah, man, Black girls are crazy. Yeah, dude. Like, that is not happening. All right. So don't let them fool you. They're actually over here on the woman's side agreeing with us when they do choose to say something. That's what I see. That's what my DMs look like. Okay. I get DMs from men, guys. 20% of my viewers are actually men. It's gone up surprisingly. It was 11%. Now it's 20. So the men watch. They watch. Some of them are actually not Black, and some of them have messaged me. So, it is what it is. Like, other men can see this. They can see this, and they're not really disagreeing. They're really not, because they see the issues too. And they don't blame Black women for divesting, swirling, dating interracially. Just showed you guys that TikTok where all those young white boys were, they said they've never dated a Black woman, but they didn't say it in a way that is like gross and turned off. And you even had one guy say that he's down, that he would date a Black woman. They would do it. Just has to do with proximity, and it has to do with if you would actually accept him or not. A lot of them think that Black women will reject him, so they don't even bother to approach. That's more of the reason. It's not any of this crazy crap the men are talking about. That's another thing in that live that a Black guy got on the panel, and he's like, oh, I work in blue collar, white, or whatever collar job. I always get those collars mixed up, whatever. But I'm guessing he's saying he works in a job with a lot of other white men, and he's saying that they speak about Black women badly. They think they've called us gross, and that they would only sleep with us, would not bring one home, right? And that's fine that he says that, and that's his experience. And to be honest, every single time a Black man does say that, I do side eye it, because how can a non-Black person come up to you and feel comfortable calling your counterpart gross? Like, I've never and And that's not the first black man I've heard. It's kind of like they all say the same thing. So that's why I think it's not true. Like y'all heard another black man say it, so you say it too. Like I don't think it's genuine because it's literally verbatim the same words. So I can't say it's the truth. But since he did want to go there, I put in the chat, like, I have lots of non-black girlfriends that wouldn't bring home a black man either. White fathers are not advocating for their daughters to bring home a little black boy. They're not doing that. White fathers, I've already showed you guys the data of how it's different when a black man and a white woman get together and how it's accepted by society compared to a black woman and a white man. It's completely different. Society is more accepting of white men and black women together than they are of black men and white women together. It's not the same. And that's because because once again, we live in a patriarchy, capitalist society. Men are seen as the ones that are in charge and are the head and stuff like that typically, right? And so if you have a man that comes from historically a weak dominated group of men, they are going to have a problem with their daughters getting with a man that comes from that type of lineage compared to their sons getting with a woman who comes from a lineage where they were never seen as a threat, where they're the most educated in their community, where they hold the most jobs in their community. That's not something like society is not going to feel some type of way about that. They're going to feel some type of way when their daughters get with black men. It just is what it is. It's just the truth. So many studies have been done. And I think on Kristen Carrigan's blog Beyond Black and White, when she had it, there was like a study she reported about when they showed couples on TV and they showed a white woman and a black male couple and people flicked the channel off or turned the TV off or whatever. But when a white man and a black husband came on, they continued to watch the show or they continued to watch the channel. Like basically the white husband and the black woman, it was more palatable, like it was more appealing. People were more comfortable watching that. And there's so many studies on this, guys. So many studies. It's kind of unclear to researchers on why this is, but I suspect that it is because of the history black men have as men, black manhood, and non-black men don't want their daughters associated with that. It's just, I mean, that's what I suspect. I mean, come on now. Like, really? So, but black men think it's because they are black that these white fathers don't want them with their daughters. But it's the black man's character. Exactly. Exactly, Capricorn. Like, that's what they believe. Has nothing to do with your blackness. It has more so to do with history, your characteristics, patterns, what's shown in the media, and whatever is shown in the media is actually done by black men in real life. Hence why it can be reported, right? Can't report things on the news that isn't happening in real life. Like, you can't report that a black man smeared poop in a woman's face if there's no video. Like, there's video of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's video of that. And then I think it was a black man went on TikTok and he said that he has no regrets doing it or something like that. Like, the guy who actually did it made a TikTok basically still standing by his decision to do so. Like, none of this has to do with race, divestment, other groups of men not wanting black men with their daughters. It doesn't have to do with race. It's your character. It's who you are and the group you associate with, the things that you support, the things that you as a black man choose to stay silent about. That is the problem. It's literally that simple. And I don't understand why these men don't get it. They hold themselves back when they choose to not understand this. When they choose to be flat out ignorant. It is ignorance. It is flat out ignorance. It's flat out ignorance to not understand that your choices that has been done throughout history, what Black men before you have chosen to do and what you continue to choose to do, it's ignorance to think that that doesn't matter. Instead, it's just skin color. It's just melanin. Like melanin, I mean, come on. Really? Really? If that was the case, why does society accept Black women more so than Black men? If it's solely about Blackness. Black women would get called thugs too. Shoot. The hell? But I'm going to go to bed, y'all. It's 10 p.m. where I'm at on the West Coast. Hope you ladies enjoyed this live. It was an impromptu live. I was in that self-proclaimed Pick Me's live and going back and forth. So I wanted to come on and talk about it. And I also invited some of those men to come on, but none of them came up. So, interesting. All right, ladies, make sure to like this video on your way out. I'm going to leave the live up if you want to catch what I said earlier and catch the replay. So until next time, ladies, I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Good night.